Talk 820 FM, WBAP. Yeah, let's go. So the big, beautiful bill is big, beautiful done deal. All the debate about it. I mean, it's worthy to still debate the merits of it, but it's not like you're going to stop it from passing. It's already happened, and the drama was going down right before the James show started. Now, as we speak, House Speaker Mike Johnson is talking to reporters about the big, beautiful bill and the vote and how it all went down. I mean, I guess we could cut over to that in a little bit, but let me explain to you a couple of the ugly details of when the sausage was made. And this wasn't even like an hour ago. When did I record this? Yeah, about an hour ago. So here's a little bit of how it goes on in real time. They have the scoreboard on the screen, and it just starts ticking up numbers. You have the Republicans, how many have said yay, how many have said nay, how many have not voted. Below that, it says Democrat, yay, nay, not voted. And this is a familiar screen to anyone who's ever dug into the process because C-SPAN hasn't changed their graphics since 1988, I think. But with that being said, let me give you a little bit of the play-by-play as it was happening. One of the things we were watching is that they could only afford to have 3 or 4, was it? I think it was 4 no votes. You could have 3 and it would still pass. So they were really watching, do we have any no votes in here? That's kind of the first thing you were watching on C-SPAN while the votes were being counted.
On the Republican line, the nay vote. And you can see the far line, NV, not voted yet, not voting. So there's 27 Republicans left, 11 Democrats, if my eyes are correct. So the Republicans have the majority. If that nay vote stays at 1, it will pass. And it looks like it's Tom Massey out of Kentucky, who is that 1 nay vote so far. Chip Roy from Texas, Republican, often, critical of spending measures, has voted yes.
Okay, so from my point of view, everyone who says you're fiscally conservative, everyone who says you want smaller government, you don't have a party. The Republicans just went out there and took a $2 trillion deficit and made it bigger, an annual deficit of $2 trillion with a T dollars, and they just made it bigger. The other side was upset that they cut too damn much. Really, they cut stuff? They made government bigger. Overall, there wasn't cuts. But, some of their programs may get curtailed and just a small, minute amount compared to the amount of spending we've increased. So this is something that makes me roll my eyes so hard when people talk about, they're a threat to democracy, or they're a threat to our democracy, or Donald Trump's a threat to our democracy. How about not being able to vote for someone who would make the government smaller is a threat to democracy? How about no matter who you vote for in either party, government just keeps getting bigger? We have the illusion of choice, but we don't have a choice. Doesn't matter who you vote for, doesn't matter who you donate to, doesn't matter what sign you put in your yard. Government is always going to get bigger. And me and Thomas Massey are the only recalcitrant idiots swimming against the stream here, I guess. And that doesn't make me special or anything. I don't understand all of you other people, all of you. I feel alone on an island. And like, James, don't you feel weird standing in a crowd and telling everyone else they're wrong? Yeah, it does feel weird. But I don't understand how you limited government people can still support this. It's a big, beautiful bill. For who? Most of what it did is just continue the last Joe Biden spending plan. And I'm tired of well, James, you got to compromise. You can't get everything you want. I never get anything I want. Never is the compromise for smaller government. If every time we, air quotes, make a compromise, governments get bigger, then one of you wouldn't make it a compromise. Maybe I make a compromise every damn time, and that's the problem. It's like, well, James, you're just ticked because you didn't win. No, this affects you. Because we keep growing government, because we keep growing the deficit, we all got a 25% pay cut in our standard of living over the last 5 years. Do you understand that? We got Elizabeth Warren and AOC that are worried about someone might miss a food stamp out there. How about everybody's groceries went up 25%? You can't say you care about the little guy and not care about that. Not care that you just gave everyone a 25% pay cut, and we're continuing that same trajectory, which means over the next 5 years, we're all going to get another 25% pay cut. You understand, if you made $100,000 starting in 2020 and we continue on this path, by the time you get to 2030, you will only be able to buy $50,000 worth of stuff with it. That's a pay cut. We're all getting a pay cut. I know you can't see it. But all this deficit spending, all this printing of money, all adding to the money supply, It's your pay cut. It is a cut in your standard of living. And for I hear all the time people scratching their head. They're like, I don't know, man. I can't seem to get ahead. I work harder. I took up some extra shifts, worked some overtime, took on an extra client, took on a side job. I'm making more money than I ever have, and I can't barely seem to stay in front of my bills. That's right. Because if you made $100,000 5 years ago and you bite, scratched, and clawed, you got a promotion, you took on some extra clients, you got a side job, whatever, and now you're making $125,000, you're maintaining your standard of living. You're just treading water. This is why you can't get ahead. This is why poor people can't get ahead. This is why people of color or oppressed or marginalized or disenfranchised people, this is why they can't get ahead. You're too busy calling the other side Hitler to do a little bit of math and learn economics, and we all have to suffer for it. And a pox on both your houses. Unless you love government. If you love big government, then you've got to love the two-party system. If you love growing government, you've got to love the fact that no matter which party you vote for, the government's going to get bigger. The politicians on both sides of the aisle, Team Red and Team Blue, they are fighting, scratching, clawing every day to make sure government gets bigger. You have no reason to gripe. But for the rest of us, I don't understand why you're all just whistling, running right into a bandsaw of inflation. Not insisting that we cut government. We didn't do it for Austin just a month ago. We didn't do it for DC now. This is choking you. Do you not realize this is choking you? This is choking all of us. And there's no, Thomas Massey is the only guy that's like, hey, maybe we need to get our fiscal house in order. We can't keep doing this forever. We can keep doing this for now. We can keep doing this for 5 years, maybe 10 years. But right up until like the Soviet Union collapsed, everyone was telling you everything's fine. They're a co-equal superpower. They're just as powerful as us. They can send people into space. They have intercontinental ballistic missiles. They're tinkering with this new thing called the internet too. And then months away, they collapse. Why? Economics. This stuff right here. That everyone's okay. $2 trillion deficits. Why not make it bigger? We're going to pay the bill. Unless you pass away in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to pay the bill. And it's even more devious if you are going to pass away in the next 5 to 10 years, because you're going to get your share of all the goodies and all the handouts and all the redistribution, and you're going to stick your kids and grandkids and great-grandkids with the bill. And they're going to have to be treading water while holding a brick, thanks to you. And I don't mean you. I just mean the people at large. I'm sure you're a limited government person. So the big, beautiful bill passes. If you have a reaction to what I got to say, 800-288-9227. I'm going to play you some of the reaction that we're already getting across the media, and I'll dip in on this press conference that Mike Johnson has. If there's anything of interest to you, you'll hear it next on The James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. We're talking about the big, beautiful bill. It just passed out of Congress, and it's done. There's no more reconciliation conference committee. Got to go to the Senate, got to go to the House, whatever. It's a done deal now. I was listening to Speaker of the House Mike Johnson's press conference explaining, what happened here, and it's just a bunch of nerdy parliamentary stuff.
Would administer the new laws, and so there was a process there for a couple of days where we allowed that time for them to explore all that, to talk with leaders in the administration.
All right, I almost fell asleep just listening to that. It's really boring. So I'll say it in a way that's more entertaining here. We're going to lesser evil ourselves right into bankruptcy, y'all. Lesser of the two evils seems to be the mantra for our entire life. And we're just going to ride that all the way into an economic grave. Congrats. Status quo. And I don't know who I'm madder at today, because the Democrats are just ridiculous, off the charts, exaggerating. People are going to die. No, people aren't going to die. No, Elizabeth Warren said people are going to die, so I'm not making it up.
Okay. So the Republicans keep working on this bill, and it keeps changing. And it keeps getting worse. So the latest, based on what they've done, is that about 17 million people will lose their access to health care. And just so everybody understands about this, who we're talking about your cousin's baby.
Yeah, it's the same thing they were saying about USAID. The cuts to USAID, we've already had 300,000 people die. Oh, really? Name one. That's how we work. We just have to spin ourselves into oblivion, or people are going to die. What an intellectual shortcut that is. Now, you don't even have to think about, oh, well, people are going to die. Then I guess socialism is better than capitalism. We haven't learned the lesson of the last 100 years. The best people to watch in a situation like this is people that try and be neutral. And see, as how I absolutely detest both of our national parties. I kind of fit that bill. But C-SPAN actually tries to walk the line halfway between Democrat and Republican. So I was watching them, because while they were waiting for the final vote to come in, they were taking some calls, and they got them from both sides here. Check this one out. First, we'll talk to Lisa, who's a Democrat. Of course, she thinks the big, beautiful bill is terrible.
Yes, I just wanted to say that I think that the Republicans should be ashamed of themselves for taking so much away, health care, things that people who are really desperate, who've depended on this system and paid in their whole lives, they should just be ashamed of themselves. And Jesus says that whatever you do to the least of these, that you do to me.
Yeah, bring up the Christianity thing. That was something that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez tweeted 4 hours ago. House Republicans voted for cuts for every single American on SNAP in exchange for some signed merch, voting to starve babies, the disabled, the poor. And they had the audacity to brand this as Christian. What does that word even mean to them? Wearing a necklace? Yeah, we all voted to starve babies, the disabled, and the poor. Sure, that's what we stand for. Could there be any bigger of a straw man? You're just an evil person. That's why you would vote for this. To starve babies, the disabled, and the poor. Does anybody really want? Raise your hand. Call in right now if you want to starve the poor. Not one person in America says, no, I want to starve the poor. It's starving the poor? Does that count as starving them if you don't give them food through a federal government program? Is the government starving me? I'm not getting any money from a federal government program. I'm not getting any food from a federal government program. Am I being starved? No, James, you can take care of yourself. So can everybody else. And for the disabled people who can't, the small people who are actually disabled, not people who are just getting a crazy check, I think private sector charity did a much better job taking care of them for all of American history up until Lyndon Baines Johnson. This is a far worse situation than we had beforehand. And that's one of the big drivers. Once we put charity in the hands of government, it got really expensive, didn't it? Once we put medicine in the hands of government, it got really expensive. Once we put education in the hands of government, it got real expensive, didn't it? Well, this doesn't turn hardly any of that around. This is an unacceptable bill because it grows government. And we have people who are griping because it didn't grow government enough. And then they're going to play the Christian card on top of that. Here's Della.
I dislike, generally, speaking in generalities, but I'm going to paint the Republicans with a broad stroke. They seem to all be cruel, and uncaring of the average American. This bill is for the rich. They are taking so much away from the average American. I don't know how they can invoke Jesus in all of their speeches. I disagree with everything that Johnson said.
Yeah, so keep bringing up the Jesus part. I love that. Point to me in the Bible where there's a poor person and Jesus said, "Hey, go tax rich people. Get the Romans to tax rich people. We'll start a program and they'll feed him." No, that's not what he said. He said, "Feed the poor." When he told the parable of the Good Samaritan, and there was a guy who was beat up, left on the side of the road, did the Samaritan stop and say, "Hang on, I'm going to go lobby the Romans to pass a law forcing you to buy health insurance"? Is that the Christian way? Or is the Christian way why you see so many hospitals that still have the legacy of Christianity on them? Presbyterian Hospital, Baptist Hospital, Methodist Hospital, all over the place. Why? Because Christians used to take care of that. But we took that away from the private sector. We gave it to government, and now we have a mess that's worse than what we had before. And no one wants to turn that around. They just want to try and use it against us, this cudgel against us. Oh, yeah, what kind of Christian? We had a guy from Arlington actually call in on C-SPAN while I was watching the vote. Steve.
Number one, I've heard some callers talking about the Democratic Party. Well, the Democratic Party hadn't done anything for this country, first of all, except spin, spin, spin. And so they really don't have much to say or to what they've done in the past. But I am a Republican, and I do not believe that we should be going into debt to this level. We are sacrificing the young people's future here in America by doing that. I do believe we need to be fiscally responsible, and I do not believe this bill is that. There are many parts of the bill that are done well, but spending and putting us in that level of debt is unacceptable. We're sacrificing our future.
Yeah, thank you, Steve in Arlington. Now think about it like this. A lot of people were pointing at the tax cuts. When I say this isn't a conservative bill, this isn't a fiscally conservative bill, it grows government. They say, well, it has tax cuts in it. Okay. If you get an 8% tax cut, but over the next 5 years you have 25% inflation, you lost more than you gained. It's still not a fiscally conservative bill because that's the real taxes you pay. It's your tax rate plus the inflation. It's the actual taxes you see and then the invisible tax of inflation that happens whether you agree to it or see it on a piece of paper or not. This is JJ in Wiley. If you want to be after JJ, 800-288-9227. We're talking about the big, beautiful bill. What do you think, JJ?
They said, JJ, is this your one? Okay. What I'm going to tell you, first off, I'm going to tell you, you shouldn't be giving out any kind of information one way or the other. You're the organizer. But number two, y'all need to know what a Ben Franklin close is, and you go down the best and then the worst, you're going to find out this bill is fantastic. There are some stuff in it that's bad, but there's more good than it is bad. And anybody that's against it needs to pack up and get out of our country because you're not deserving to be here.
Well, I'm against it. Should I leave?
Excellent. Yes, sir.
Okay.
I would say that in a heartbeat.
Well, I'm going to stay, even though you want me to leave. I'm sorry you want me to leave.
Well, I understand.
All right.
But that's, I understand you're thinking where you are, but you're all wet with it, so that's your choice.
Well, does it bother you that government spending goes up, the federal debt and deficit both go up?
Well, that bothers me, but there's some other stuff in there that's taken care of that's been needing to be taken care of that we have a chance to get rid of that we'll never have a chance again. That's why. Once it gets in and gets there, there are some things in there that can be negotiated and restate and redone. That's why I called Ron Johnson and told him, I said, you got to vote for it because the basic side, if you don't, you're a traitor to the country. Because what you have is that you can take care of some other stuff later to fix, but you can't redo what we're getting rid of.
But we never get back to the cutting part. See, this is what I've heard my entire life. No, we just got to do this right now. We can get back in the future and actually cut. And once you've been told that for 30 years, you don't believe it anymore. That we're never going to get back to the cuts, are we? Because none of y'all stand with me. On either side, both of y'all are okay with Democrats and Republicans. Y'all just want to grow government until it collapses. Well, fine. I'm going to stand here and I'm going to say it, and y'all can just disagree with me all day. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. More on the big, beautiful bill. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 829 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show. If you're still listening, I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Talking about the big, beautiful bill. Me and Thomas Massey and Rand Paul are not big fans of it because it's too big. Republicans, the rest of them voted for it because they like it. Democrats think it's too small. So this is one of the shows where I feel like I'm on an island. And look, I got an email here from Jim. Says, I give up on you. You are almost as difficult to listen to, flapping your ignorance as Jeffries. Oh, thank you. And then he says, R.I.P. So I lost Jim. Yeah, I really sound like Hakeem Jeffries. Jeffries is worried because it cuts too much. I'm worried because it doesn't cut enough. You're closer to Hakeem Jeffries than I am. You understand that? Your version of statecraft is close. I'm on the other side of you from Hakeem Jeffries. So no, you're closer to him, Jim. I'm further away. You don't like Hakeem Jeffries? Then why are you so much like him? Why are you more like him than I am? I do not like the big, beautiful bill. I do not like the fact that no matter who you vote for and who you send to office, government grows. Doesn't matter if we have a Doge that comes through and sweeps all this stuff out and we're told that so many cuts are being made that thousands and millions of people are going to die and the government still grows. Everyone else is okay with that. 49 out of 50 senators on the Republican side are okay with growing government. Democrats are just off the reservation. They can't grow it fast enough. We're reaching a fiscal cliff. We have like 7 years left on Social Security before that trips. You know what happens when that trust fund runs out? The people who get checks are going to be limited to just whatever the intake is. They're going to get about a 22, 23% cut. Everyone's Social Security across the board is going to get cut 23%. Medicare, Medicaid, same trajectory. We can't keep this up forever. And we're only stealing from the future. When we run deficits, you're stealing from your future self. And if you're not going to be here very long, you're stealing from your children and grandchildren. This is intergenerational theft is what we're doing. It's immoral and it's wrong. And I'm tired of people who say they're fiscally conservative just going along with this. Because you're telling me, not you, I'm saying, the people who call themselves Republicans but support growing government were just told me in January. Remember when we had the government shutdown and they're like, well, we're just going to do this continuing resolution. We're just going to kick the can a few months because we just have to keep going so we can get all these things done. And then we'll go take care of that in the future. Well, it's the future and you're kicking the can again. So no, that doesn't work anymore. You can't say, well, we'll just get this done now. And then in the future, this mystical, mysterious process that never seems to happen is going to magically happen this time. And you'll get your way, James. Just keep going with it. No. Mike in Texas over here said on Twitter/X, chill out. The spending problem can be fixed by future bills. The bill isn't perfect, but it's a miracle we got anything past the finish line with slim majorities and stalling Republicans. You could have gotten anything you want past the finish line with these majorities. If just the same people voted in the same way, you could have had a different bill. You could have Thomas Massey and Rand Paul voting with you too. If this was my first day paying attention to politics, I might fall for this. But we are more than 30 years of my adult life. I've been paying attention to politics, and this is what I hear every time. I can't take it. I can't pretend to be okay with this. I know it's not good for the show either. I know I have a lot of Republicans and a lot of pro-Trump people out there who I'm turning off right now. And I'm willing to risk that, to be honest with you. I like Trump too. I just don't like growing government. I can do both. I'm not a traitor either. Don't try and kick me out the country because I don't want it to be bankrupt. Terry and Allen, you're on WBAP.
Yeah, James, I understand that we need to have a balanced budget. But the thing is, you can't take it from $3 trillion deficit or whatever it is and $33 million debt down to zero in one fiscal
Of course you can.
term.
Of course you can. You of course you
No,
can.
you
No, well,
can't.
not
You
the
can't,
national
James.
debt,
That'd
but
bring a total economic collapse to this country, and the Democrats the Democrats, the socialists, and the communists would be in control of this country forever. Our children and grandchildren would be socialists and communists if Trump lets this economy collapse so that he can balance the budget in one fiscal term.
Yeah, but Terry, history says the opposite's true. The more you grow government, the more you get over your skis with social programs and debt, the more likely your kids and grandkids are going to fall and be socialists and communists. What happened in Venezuela? Did they turn to socialism and end up with a bigger or smaller government? Did they get to socialism by shrinking their government, or did they get to socialism after growing their government? The history says the exact opposite of what you just claimed you're concerned about, sir.
Well, point to a time in history where we had a $33 trillion deficit and we reduced it to zero in one fiscal term. Point to that date in history.
Well, that's impossible because no one's had a third.
It never happened, James. It never has happened.
Okay, let me tell you this, Terry.
Growing from the beginning, and this is the biggest step that we've ever taken toward fiscal responsibility.
JJ, hey,
and you guys
Terry,
are fighting it.
Terry, I got some good news for you. They're actually first off, there's not a historical precedent where anyone's ever run up this amount of debt, but we have had giant debts in the past, and we have paid them all off in one fell swoop. Did you know J.P. Morgan paid off the national debt in the 1800s?
Well, we don't have anybody like J.P. Morgan that's...
He doesn't know, and that's okay. He's just going down this path, and he's making some emotional claims there. So we can't cut government, we can't balance the budget, or it'll collapse, and we'll all end up in communism. I don't think that's a rational economic argument, but I appreciate the attempt. Boots in McKinney, you're on WBAP. Go.
With you, and just for the gentleman and Alan, I believe you were referring to the deficit, not the entire debt.
We know what he was talking about. We know what he was talking about.
Yeah. So 2 points. One, I'm furious as normal and not surprised, particularly at Senate Republicans, for pumping this thing up worse. Craven cowardice. John Cornyn, if you're out there listening, once again, selling us down the river. When we had when you're right on sheer votes, it has been the chance, if Republicans closed ranks all across the board, we could have done a lot better. Second point, I'd just like to point out to Democrats out there, I don't want to hear Democrats use the words cruel or Christianity again, ever. And I know that's a harsh statement, but I don't want to hear about cruelty or Christianity in reference to Republicans when the Democrat Party has overseen the largest genocide of unborn babies in the history of the world and still advocates for transgender mutilation. I just can't stomach that. That's, don't wave the morality flag at me as a conservative or a Republican when you're standing on,
Bro, I'm not concerned about morality right now. I'm concerned about economics. I'm concerned about whether we have abortions or not. If we don't get this debt under control, we're going to collapse. How did the Soviet Union fall in the early 90s? It wasn't a military intervention. It wasn't because they aborted too many babies. It's because they couldn't afford it anymore. Same reason the Ottoman Empire fell, British Empire fell, Spanish Empire, Roman Empire. This is how empires fall. You either get run over by the next military that's bigger than you because they have a better economy, or you just self-implode with a self-made economic collapse in the same way we're doing now. Rome did this. They went from a gold standard to a fiat currency, and they inflated their currency to where it was worthless tokens that people threw around. They had 2/3 of the city of Rome on the grain dole, food stamps, when the Goths came and knocked it over in 410. 800-288-9227. I do not like this big, beautiful bill. What do you think? You're going to hear from some more people next on The James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. If you're just joining us, I'm over here getting beat up by the listeners and people on emails and Facebook messages and stuff because I have a very not popular opinion, and I understand that. I know you probably disagree with me too. I don't like the big, beautiful bill, and not for the same reasons the Democrats don't like it. Oh, look at all these cuts. Oh, the 11 million people are going to lose their access to health care. Well, I wish it was all of them. Were you trying to make me like the bill? Griping about the cuts? That's the only part I like. Yeah, isn't that ironic? The only part I like about the bill is the parts the Democrats are saying is why they're not voting for it. But I'm just mind blown because over and over, and now almost 23 years of being on talk radio, I have people who say they want limited government, people who say they're fiscally conservative, and they go out and they castigate me for wanting a balanced budget. I don't understand these people. I don't understand it. And I'm getting tore up from the floor up over here. If you've never emailed me before and you want to tell me how sorry I am, james@wbap.com. My next guest, she might be beating me up too, Raven Harrison, regular guest on the show. You can check out our website, ravenharrison.com. Your thoughts on the big, beautiful bill passing? When do we ever shrink government? But if we can't do it now, when will we be in a better position than right today? Wait, but Raven, we have a couple guys that are actually in my position voting against this bill because it grows government and they want government to shrink or at least stop growing. And they're over here getting beat up. In fact, I've got Rick sending me an email saying Massey and Fitzpatrick will be looking for a new job soon. Go back to playing your game show segments, Rick and McKinney. Thanks, Rick. Thanks. So we do have people that want smaller government, and they're being treated like pariahs. How do you hand it over to the Democrats? They can't pass anything without us. We have majorities in both houses. They can't pass anything without Republicans. They can't pass anything. So I've heard that for 30 years though. Like, we've just got to do this now and we'll get to the cuts later. We just got to pass this now. We just got to get a win now and we'll get the cuts later. And after 30 years of that, I'm like, no, I want the cuts now. And you're not getting my vote or my support, or I'm not even going to say nice things about the big, beautiful bill until we get that. So that's where I'm at. I've been burned too many times with this stuff. All right. So we got a primary out, everybody but Massey and Rand Paul. Because I'm down for that. Well, considering who the rest of the Republicans are, that's probably a badge of honor for him. All right, thank you very much, Raven. We're just out of time here. RavenHarrison.com is her website. She's running for office, running for Congress. So if you're looking for someone to donate to, start with her. She's awesome, and she's a regular guest and a good friend of the show. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I will continue fielding some very hot opinions on the big, beautiful bill next on The James Show. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP. Welcome back to the big show. Big, beautiful bill passes out of Congress, and it's done. We're just waiting for it to be signed. I expect that to... Are they about to sign that? No, they're going to sign it tomorrow. Okay. In fact, that would just flash on the screen. Yeah, breaking news. The president announced he's signing it. Some sort of ceremony coming up. Whatever. I'm not too happy with it, though. And I like extending the tax cuts. I like some of the other minor provisions in there. I like the work requirements on SNAP and Medicare, or Medicaid, I should say. But the fact that it grows government more than it cuts is a deal breaker for me. I would like to balance the budget. And a compromise to me would be like, okay, well, let's cut the annual deficit in half. But what's not acceptable is growing government. And what's not acceptable is even keeping it the same size. Yet I have 49 out of 50 Republicans saying, yeah, let's grow government. We're fiscally conservative. Just not now. And so Democrats, you're off the plantation. No pun intended. You guys can't grow government fast enough. You just can't drive off a cliff fast enough. Republicans, you're right behind them. My big problem with the Republicans, capital R, not you, not most of the people listening, but the ones in political power right now, is y'all are too much like Democrats. What's the point of even voting for you if you're going to grow government every year, no matter what happens? So that's kind of where I'm at now, and I'm taking quite a bit of heat for it, too. We'll go back to the emails in just a second, but it's not looking good for old Parker over here. This is Connie in Lucas. You're on the James Show on WBAP.
Hi, I want to say a few things before you respond, but I just want to tell you, I'm not calling to beat you up. I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I really do. But I also know this is a perfect example. Okay, I like Nancy and Ron Paul, but did you know, as far as I know, Nancy did vote under Biden to extend the debt ceiling. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Okay, well, how is that helping? You see my point? But my point is, the Freedom Caucus is...
Wait, can I respond to that real quick? I think, for one thing, the increase in the debt ceiling this time is $5 trillion. So that's with a T, $5 trillion. So he never voted for that before. Also, Massey was probably sitting around with 216 other Republicans in the House of Representatives going, look, just vote for it this time, and then we'll get to the cuts later. We just have to pass this now. We just need to get this win through. We just need to get this through, and we'll do the cuts. You can't get everything you want now. You can't just cut it all at once. And it's everything that people are saying to me now are probably what they were saying to him when he did that vote. So it's not that he violated his principles today by voting against growing government. It's that people made false promises to him that warped his vote in the past, and he's not sticking with it anymore, and I'm not either. Anyway, go ahead.
Let me finish, though. I'm not
Sure. Go ahead.
You know, I'm all for cutting things, too. That's the problem. There's not enough. The Freedom Caucus is about the only ones that will cut things, okay? And you need more of them. And the thing is, there is a rescission package that was passed in the House. You know of that, right? That they're cutting. Now, I don't know if it'll get past the Senate, but it has been passed in the House. And that's cutting more things from Dodge and other things, okay? So that's a separate bill. And that has passed the House. And I want that all cut. I do. I'm the first to tell you, there's not going to be a country left if we don't start cutting tons of stuff out, okay?
Then how do you support this?
Because this has a lot of good cuts, and I'm hoping several rescission bills will pass, is what I'm trying to tell you. I'm hoping those rescission bills will cut more.
Okay, so in 6 months from now, Connie, when there's no rescission bills and we still have government bigger than it was last year, are you still going to support the Republicans?
Over the Democrats, I will, because they're like horse.
And so then we're never going... I know, but because of that, we're never going to get cuts.
Left and right. Well, get more people. You know, this is the problem with Massey and Rand Paul. I like them both. And I'm not going to attack them. I'm not. I see their points. But why don't they get more Republicans to go with them, and then we could do all this? But they don't.
No. There's no they. You don't. The reason Rand Paul and Thomas Massey don't hold more power and sway and get their way is because of you, Connie. People like you who say you're fiscal conservative.
Because I'm not against them at all.
You are. No, listen.
No,
I know you're not against them, but you say you're for fiscal conservatism, but you support the big, beautiful bill. You still support the party that gives you bigger government every year. And you haven't given me a boundary on how far does it have to go before you cut it off, because you don't stand on your principles. And not just you, Connie, millions of people who say that they're fiscal conservative.
Solution.
Stop supporting the Republicans. Primary every Republican that voted for this. All 49 senators, including the two in Texas, and pretty much everyone in the House except for the two guys that voted against it. Primary all of them.
Okay,
or vote third party.
Though, you don't realize the Democrats are never going to let you cut stuff. Never, never. And, that's the problem. They've given a free turkey to everybody at Thanksgiving, and they think they should continue giving free turkeys to everybody at Thanksgiving. They let the border open. They let 15 million people in, and they knew if they let them in, then we would have trouble getting them out. That was the whole point of opening the border to begin with.
Republicans are better than Democrats. I'll give you that any day of the week. But we can't keep doing this lesser of two evil things. We're still going to fly off a cliff. We're going to lesser of the two evils our way straight into bankruptcy, straight into fiscal collapse. So if we're going to have a fiscal collapse going 60 miles an hour or 50 miles an hour, that's the Republican Party versus the Democrat Party right now. Rand Paul, Thomas Massey want to hit the brakes, turn this car around, and stop driving toward a cliff. And if you're not with me on that one, I don't understand how you call yourself a fiscal conservative. I don't understand how you can say you're a limited government conservative and support this bill, or really support the Republican Party. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Victoria Churchill with Young Voices coming up next on The James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP, the big beautiful bill. It's official, passed today. On the thinnest of margins through the House, they like the Senate bill. Here's the moment.
218, the nays are 214. The motion is adopted.
Do some USA chants here. All right. We got it. My next guest helping us out with this, Victoria Churchill from Young Voices, back on the James Show. I'm not a big fan of this. I realize a lot of people are happy that Donald Trump got a win legislatively, but it still grows government, and I don't like that. Victoria, you with me? Yeah. Well, Victoria, I'm looking to you for some good news. I keep being promised by people who support the big beautiful bill, people in emails and callers and what, that no. Look, we just had to get this across the finish line, and then we have these rescission packages that are going to be coming through. What's the word on those? Do we have these rescission packages waiting on deck, or are people just trying to gas me up? All right, Victoria Churchill, Daily Mail. What does the Congress do next? right? Well, be in touch because I like getting updates from people on the ground in D.C. Sitting in the galleries was Victoria Churchill from the Daily Mail. Thank you very much for the update. All right, we return to the phones. 800-288-9227. This is Charlie and Burnett. You're on WBAP.
Hey, James, can you hear me?
I can, Charlie. Go.
Hey, thanks for being a voice of sanity and reason out there. I love your show. Anyway, of course, there's so many pieces of this, and I thank you for bringing up the ever increasing federal, but also the state. The state legislators here in Austin did a horrible job growing government. It's also, of course, in all the counties. Here in Burnett County, we've had nothing but incredible growth of government, and very few people fighting against that. But couple of points I'd like to make. As long as the government borrows money from the Federal Reserve, which is a bank, and they print they print money out of nothing, and as long as that is there, we will never have a balanced budget. Actually, and again, you're obviously a student of history. I've heard you say a lot of things that most people.
Yeah, well, it's not impossible. We have a strong incentive to not have a balanced budget, but we did sort of accidentally balance the budget in 99, 2000, and 2001.
That is correct, and but there's so many pieces that increasing productivity, which is one thing that Trump is very good at, as well as the tariffs are very good parts of all this. But the ever increasing, just off the cliff, like you said, we're driving off the cliff. But I think there's something actually even more sinister here, and nobody seems to have touched on it.
Can you do it quickly? We're down to 30 seconds.
Yeah. I think the ultimate goal is central bank digital currency, Hegelian dialectic, crash the existing system and switch to a central bank digital currency. And that's where we're going.
All right. I think a lot of people agree with that. I think a lot of people are not nearly as far down the economic rabbit hole as the rest of us, but I appreciate the call, Charlie and Burnett. A lot of people do need to hear that. 800-288-9227 if you want to join the discussion about the big, beautiful bill. Joining me next is independent journalist Sarah Fields here in Texas. She's going to talk about the big, beautiful bill, but also some inside info on that trucker crash that killed 5 of our neighbors outside of Terrell last week. That's coming up on the James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey, homeowners. James Parker here for Blue Ribbon Roofing. Yeah, you see all the clouds outside? You see we're not done with nasty weather just yet. So if you have any doubts about your roof, if you're just missing one shingle, that is reason enough to call Blue Ribbon Roofing and schedule your inspection. Why? Because it's free. If your roof is fine, they'll tell you it's fine. It won't cost you anything, maybe 40 minutes, hour tops of your time. That's it. But if you do need some help, they'll tell you, here, we could just patch it for this amount of money. Or if you, God forbid, need a whole new roof, they'll help you through that pain in the neck insurance process. Because if you go to your policy and you call the number that they want you to call to try and get a claim on your roof, that's not the same number that John Hopkins is going to call from Blue Ribbon Roofing. He knows the real number to call to get the person whose job isn't to short you as much as possible, and you're just starting off on the wrong foot. Well, that's okay. You haven't done this thousands of times. John, Tish, and Trevor have. So that's why you call them at blueribbondfw.com. They'll help you with the insurance. The inspection is free. The handsome guy on the radio says they're awesome. blueribbondfw.com. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. My next guest, Sarah Fields, independent journalist here in the great state of Texas, who's broken some great stories for us in the past. And we'll talk about the big, beautiful bill second. I want to start with info that I saw first from you, so let's go ahead and give you proper credit, Sarah Fields, on the trucker that killed 5 out of Terrell. Now, you get double credit for this because you were the first person I got the reporting from on the real story behind the trucker who killed 5 in Austin earlier this year. And so, you know, if I had a nickel for every time some strange immigrant who didn't speak English killed 5 Texans in a crash that could have easily been prevented, I'd only have 2 nickels, but that's still too many. Yeah, Duffy quote tweeted you. Whoa, 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 whoa. This dude killed 5 people and his bail was $7,000? Good Lord. Okay. All right. Well, what do we know about this fella in Terrell? Campagnoni. It sounds Italian, right? Like, is he going to give you a taco or pasta? You mean like from Spain? How do people in Cuba get a Spanish passport? Yep. So we also have this being a pattern now. Now that it's happened more than once, you know, I've seen some of your reporting looking into it. There are giant companies, and I don't want to say giant, but there are big organizations who just bring in pools of these immigrant truckers, and they're putting out of business the native truckers. I don't want to say Native American because people think Indian when you say that. But I mean, it's not even a race thing. White, black, Latino, whatever nationality you are, the American citizen truckers who used to have these jobs are being undercut by this nefarious system. So it's not only crashes that are a problem, there's an economic problem. Oh, well, there's no way this dude did, because in the arrest report it said he's 5'8", 308 pounds, and I think 308 was generous because this guy looked like Grimace from the Happy Meal box. All right, Sarah, we've got 1 minute left. This all sounds shady. What do you think is going on here? Whew. All right, that's a lot to take in, but I appreciate you doing all the legwork and sharing it on the James Show. This is Sarah Fields. She's a great follow on Twitter. And what's the new outfit you're pushing? Faith, freedom, faith, or something like that? All right, good stuff. That's Sarah Fields. Coming up next, we're going to go back to the phones and I don't know. Am I going to get beat up about the big, beautiful bill some more? I'll read some emails where people disagree with me. I'm just not a fan. I'm not a fan of growing government. This grows government. I'm not a fan. I like some of it. I like some of the tax cuts. I like some of the other provisions in there. But overall, if I'm a yay or a nay, put me down for a nay. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker, continuing discussions about the big, beautiful bill. A couple of the emails here. Now, I'm saying I'm getting beat up. It's mixed. It's about 50-50 over here, but 50-50 is not normal. Usually it's like I get 19 people say I agree with you for every one person that disagrees. So 50-50 is pretty brutal over here. I was compiling them on the last couple of breaks here. And a couple of quick emails, and I'll get back to the phones. 800-288-9227. Paul says, hey, listening today, understand your pain. The problem is Dems and reps eating from the same trough. I voted for Trump because I was sick and tired of my vote going for not and didn't want the Dems to control. I hope he knows what he's doing. As long as he keeps going after corruption on all levels, which I think is the most important and should lead to a better fiscal policy, I will be very happy. Getting a lot of that. This is Kevin, who sent me a Facebook message. He says, I'm with you. Not sure why we even have a debt ceiling. I'm just hoping Vince is right on the rescission packages may cut some, but I have my doubts. Takes balls to be honest in this situation. You get an attaboy. Those don't come cheap from an old hillbilly. Here's another one, Tom in Rockwall. My brothers-in-law and I were discussing this very recently, and just like you, we're of the mindset government must be made smaller and the budget balanced. But there are two ways to balance the budget: drastically cut spending or increase receipts to the Treasury. The last time we saw a budget surplus in this country was 98 to 2001, and it wasn't because of reduced spending. It was because of economic growth. That in conjunction with rescissions and a better trade balance and tariff receipts could actually bring us closer to a balanced budget than we've been in some time. Unfortunately, this is only theoretical and only time will tell. As it's scored right now, it will bring the deficit up. It's about $2 trillion this year. It will add 207. I mean, it's not, yeah, $2 trillion this year. It will add 270 billion. So it'll be 2.27 trillion next year. So yeah, if we get some magic cuts in the future that balance the budget, then I can support this, but we don't have those. So I can't support this. But I'm watching people who say that they're fiscally conservative. I'm watching people who say that they want government to be smaller. It's today wouldn't bother me too much. This is what it's been my entire life. And I've really only been paying attention for 30 years, 23 of it in talk radio. And I hear this every time. We have to raise this debt ceiling. We have to pass a budget. There's a government shutdown. There's the omnibus. We got some sort of spending bill. Every time I'm told, James, just take a back seat. We'll get to you next. You wouldn't put up with this if it was your spouse, would you? Would you do this for 23 years if your spouse is like, oh, I have a headache. We'll do it tomorrow. Oh, I don't feel like it. We'll do it tomorrow. Oh, it's that time of the month. We'll do it tomorrow. After like 23 years, you'd say, I don't think we're going to do it tomorrow, wouldn't you? We're going to do it now. Or no, let's get off that metaphor. Steve in Brookton, you're on WBAP.
Hey, I'm not going to beat you up. I agree with you.
But
this bill did not go far enough at all.
Is there a but coming?
No.
Oh, okay.
The government needs to be cut, slashed. Department of Education, gone. All this spending, gone. Stuff needs to go back to the states. You had a caller earlier that told you that if you didn't agree with him, you needed to get the hell out of the country. That's the kind of attitude that won't let us get anything done, because people have settled into two camps, the Dems and the Republicans. There's no compromise anywhere. And when people have that attitude, it just shuts down any progress at all.
Well, here's what I find super frustrating as a guy who's clearly an independent third-party thinker here. My problem with the Democrats and Republicans is they're so damn alike. They pretend like they're opposite sides of the spectrum, but you guys are teetering on just on the same tree branch, just inches away from each other. From my point of view, I mean, Republicans are Democrats that want to close the border as it stands right now. I mean, if you don't want to cut government, you want government to be bigger. You still have entitlements. You still have 70% of our government's going to be socialist spending. Does everyone realize that? Like, if we got rid of the socialism in our government, the budget would be more than balanced tomorrow. More than 70% of what the government spends is them taking a dollar from you and giving it to someone who didn't work for it. That's 70% of our budget.
I think we need the convention of states getting term limits.
Look, that sounds nice, but are we going to get a convention of states and end up with a government the way I see fit, like sort of the libertarian founding fathers constitutional government? Or are we going to get more Democrats and Republicans just rehashing the same thing out of the convention of states? Because if 49 out of 50 Republicans are okay with growing government, convention of states is going to be worse for us.
I think our problem is that you have too many people that they will talk about doing things, but they don't actually get out there and do anything. They're not going to. People. We need the convention of states, but people will not be active enough to get that going.
All right, that's good stuff. Let me go to another caller here. Thank you, Steve. This is Dwayne in Cleburne. You're next up on WBAP. What's up, Dwayne?
Well, I hear you. I came in kind of late, but I hear you referencing the CBO projections.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
The CBO has never been correct.
Understand that. Yeah, they've always undercut it.
They have. They have absolutely. Every time since Reagan, they have, when the supply side tax cut happens, every time they have dramatically underestimated the tax revenues. So if your position is based on CBO projections, you're just wasting your time.
Yeah, but we're not going to grow the government so much that we get an additional $2 trillion a year in tax revenue and therefore make up the deficit, the annual deficit. We're not going to beat this by growing out of it. That's not even a possibility. Because
I don't think that's correct.
Okay, so our entire economy is what, $38 trillion now? And if we have a tax rate of
Trump's first term, they projected tax revenue with the cut would go down $1.5 trillion and went up 1.5. They were almost $3 trillion off.
Yeah. Okay. So let's put it like this. Right now, let's just use a round number. The GDP of the United States is about $40 trillion if you round it up, and we take in about $4 trillion in taxes. So we have about a 10% tax rate. So in order to make up the other $2 trillion in taxes that we're short, we would have to have another 20 trillion size of our economy. So we have to grow our economy by 50% in the next 12 months in order to balance the budget. That's too optimistic for me to buy, sir. That's not going to happen.
I don't follow your numbers. I don't think they make sense. My only point is, forget the CBO. Look at the projections from the Economic Council that's headed by Kevin Hassett.
I remember George W. Bush saying we're going to grow out of it. I remember Trump saying we're going to grow out of it. And here we are with a bigger government and bigger debt and bigger deficits. If we come back in 5 years and we haven't grown out of this and we still have a big old fat deficit, I want you to call me back and I want you to say, sorry, James, I was wrong. Because I never get that. I never got people calling me back saying, Trump's crashing the economy. Look at the stock market. Now we're at all-time highs. They were saying that 3 months ago. Am I getting... All right, I got to go. It's the James Show. I'm James Parker, 800-288-9227, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 93.3 FM, WBAP. Big, beautiful bill passes. Some think it grows government not enough. Some think it grows government, and that's okay. I'm one of the few people, I think I'm in the minority here, and that's okay. That's okay. I don't like it because it grows government. And I'm tired of never getting the government to shrink just even by a penny. I'm tired of being told, well, we'll just do this time, and then we'll take care of the cuts in the future. Well, we just got to do this now, and then we'll cut in the future. And I'm not even upset at Democrats today. You guys want bigger government. You guys win every time. Y'all have no reason to be upset. They're having a big protest tomorrow in downtown Dallas at City Hall over the big, beautiful bill. Why? You get you people who love big government, you never lose. You never have to compromise. I have to compromise. But let me give you a couple of examples of what I'm talking about here. We have a guy telling me that, well, we have to do this because it's better than passing nothing. See, I don't buy that. I don't understand. I don't understand this mindset. Well, if it's your first day, if you just came out of high school and you're 18, or maybe came out of college, it's the first time you're really aware of what's going on, and people tell you, no, we just got to do this today, and in the future we'll take care of the actual cuts. They're coming up though. Don't you worry. I don't understand how anyone falls that for a second time, much less for 30 years. So I've been an adult for 30 years. I'm 48, and every time I pay attention to this, I get told the same thing. Here it is. This text rep that tweeted me this. I agree with you in principle on needing more cuts, but I guess I also understand passing what we have the votes for instead of not passing anything at all. And having the Trump tax cuts expire. I absolutely understand your frustration, though. How come is it in my entire life, in your entire life, in all of our entire lives, we've never had the other side say, well, we've just got to pass what we have the votes for. I guess we're going to have to cut government because it's better, this plan to cut government, it's better to pass this than nothing at all. How come they never have to say that? How come the people that want to grow government never have to compromise? And I do every time. It's not a compromise if I lose every time. It's not a compromise if the big government people win every time. The powers that want to grow government, if they win every time, how about you ask them to compromise? How am I the only one that sees it like this? And I find this super frustrating, being my head on the table, because 49 out of 50 Republicans in the Senate voted for this. There's only one guy that actually wants to cut government. There's only two guys in the House that actually want to cut government. Don't ask me to vote for Republicans again. Democrats, you're way off the rocker. Party of slavery and Trail of Tears and segregation and Jim Crow. I'll never vote for you. And Republicans, the only saving grace you had is that you're not Democrats. But if you're going to be 80% Democrat, and what, you're Democrats that close the border? That's not enough anymore. I'm tired of getting a 25% pay cut. You got a 25% pay cut in the last 5 years. We're going to get another one in the next 5 years. We're going to get a 50% pay cut over the 2020s. And that's what you get for, we'll just do it next time. No, this kicks me in the teeth. This makes it harder for me to pay for my kids. I got 4 kids. I can't send them to college as it is. And everyone just made it harder. I'm like, James, shut up. We just have to pass what we can instead of not passing anything at all. Shut down the damn government then. Try that. It'd be better than this, I promise. Joe, Grapevine, you're on WBAP.
Hey, how are you, my friend?
I've been better, Joe.
Listen, I know. I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but I'm going to have to say that I don't agree with the timing. And I wish you would just give it a little bit more time. It's something that Secretary Kennedy said when he was accepting.
Hang on. Do you not realize how that sounds to me? People have been saying that to me for 30 years as an adult, for 23 years on the radio. Well, this isn't the right time to do it. When is the right time to do it? It hadn't been the right time to do it my entire life. Is that coming up in the next 5 months? Because I remember people telling me this in January. Remember when we had the debt ceiling or the continuing resolution, and they were like, no, we're just going to continue Biden's spending limits and raise the debt ceiling because the timing's not right. Well, the timing's still not right 6 months later. When will the timing be right?
did we have President Trump as president during these 30 years you're talking about? We did not.
Actually, we already had 4 years of him.
Yes,
and look here,
yes,
I'm
we
glad you
did.
brought this up. Hang on, I'm just going to pot you down for a second. I don't want to be rude, but I pulled this, and just in case I got a call like this, Donald Trump back in 2018 passed one of these. There was a government shutdown and there was an emergency, and we actually had it shut down, and we couldn't go to like national parks or whatever. This is him in 2018 saying, because he wanted a balanced budget, and they brought him some trash like they brought him this time. And he said, all right, I'll sign it this one time, but I'm never doing it again.
There are a lot of things that I'm unhappy about in this bill. There are a lot of things that we shouldn't have had in this bill, but we were, in a sense, forced. If we want to build our military, we were forced to have. There are some things that we should have in the bill. But I say to Congress, I will never sign another bill like this again. I'm not going to do it again.
And he's going to do it again tomorrow. And I'm tired of being told that we just got to do it this time and we'll get to the cuts later. Are you still with me, Joe?
Sure. I'm letting you talk.
Oh, okay. I feel bad because I don't want to beat you up. You're sort of the avatar for the people who have told me this for the last 30 years. And so I don't want to just dump on you. I'm just trying to explain where I come from.
Well, let me see if I can tell you where I'm coming from.
Okay.
We voted for President Trump. Trump learned from his first 4 years, and he has a whole different team, a very talented. I've heard that from so many different people. He has a very experienced team. He learned from that. There are things that he knows as far as national security, border security, the economy, how our ammunition and our arms have been depleted, our money situation, our economy. He knows all of that, much more, even to a national security level that can't be discussed with us. A lot of this has to do with border security. We already know the direction that the Democrats wanted to go with the economy, but there's a difference here this time.
What's the
Trump
difference?
Has been the kind of president that he's made a lot of promises, and he hit the road immediately. Executive order after executive orders, even though he's had people object to him. I remember Secretary Kennedy said when he was being accepted. He said, a lot of people said, don't trust Trump. Oh, you better get it in writing. And he said, I want you to know, everybody, that with just his word and a handshake, he said he's done what he said he's going to do. And I don't know if you heard the last 30 minutes.
Bro, he said he was going to cut government, and it's not cut. It's getting bigger.
No, James. Did you hear the last 30 minutes of Vince Scollina's show?
I did
I'm
not.
Sure who okay.
Listen, I'm out of time. Can you do it in like one sentence?
He said that there was the president talked to them. The president can make cuts, and that's what changed their mind because he has been a man of his word, and I believe that he is going to do that, and I'm going to trust him. Okay. And he has stood up and stood by so many things he has said. That's what changed those men's mind. They were in the same line you were, James, but they believed what he said. He still has the power to make cuts. Let him do it.
That's what people told me the first term of Trump. That's what people told me during George W. That's what I've been told my entire life. No, I trust him. It's going to happen, James. Here in just a few months, you don't know what's going on. There's super secret things that we couldn't all possibly know, but we're going to get cuts in the future. That doesn't work for 30 years. All right, coming up next, the great Jim Varney from Real Clear Politics, has a great story on some wasteful spending that's going to blow your mind next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Top story of the day, big, beautiful bill jumps its final hurdle in D.C., and it will be signed. We just got breaking news. It will be signed by President Trump during the James Show tomorrow at around 4 o'clock. I say around because they say 4 o'clock. Do these things, Garrett, you've been in radio for just a couple of years. You probably already know. Do these things ever start on time? Yeah, he said 8 years, and no political press conference has ever started on time. If they want to blow our minds, they would walk out there right at the right time. We'd all just faint and pass out. But my next guest, Jim Varney from Real Clear Politics, Real Clear Investigations, has a story that's right up the alley on profligate spending and just how ridiculous D.C. has gotten. First off, welcome back to the show, Jim.
Yeah, thanks for having me, James. I'm sorry I misunderstood the Zoom thing now.
No, it's
a radio show.
You don't have to explain that. So your latest investigation caught my eye because the numbers were so huge. Now, there's one office in the Biden administration that went nuts between Election Day and Inauguration Day. They knew that they had this little lame duck couple of months where they weren't going to be in power anymore, but they still had the strings of power. However, you zoomed in on the last 2 days and tell the people listening how bad the last 2 business days of the Biden administration were for the taxpayers.
Okay, so in the Department of Energy's Loan Program Office, the LPO they call it, in the last 2 working days of the Biden administration, so this is the Thursday and Friday of the week before Trump gets inaugurated, they approved $45 billion.
In 2 days, they spent that's like $22 billion a day in air quotes loan programs. And we know a lot of times that these things don't end up having to be paid back. The companies will go out of business or declare bankruptcy, or they'll get waived or wiped out in some future spending bill. So yeah, that's kind of nuts. What do they usually spend this program? What's their normal spending like if they did $45 billion in 2 days?
Right, and remember that the $45 billion, the last 48-hour blowout, that was on top of what the other work they'd done since after the election, which totaled $93 billion. So if you remember last October, I wrote a story about how the EPA had spent $27 billion and they'd given it to these kind of sketchy nonprofits that didn't have any assets and some politically connected people on their boards. This is more than 3 times that, and it represents more than 10 years worth of what the LPO had put out previously. So the LPO is like this sort of quiet office traditionally, right? It was founded to sort of help nuclear projects, and it's just kind of been this backwater. And what really made it flush was the Inflation Reduction Act, which really was a climate bill, as they even admit that now. And that just pumped, tens, scores of billions of dollars into the EPA and the DOE and all these things trying to achieve the green energy revolution.
See, that's how you can tell Varney went to the Ivy League. He uses words like scores. It was scores of billions of dollars, not tens of billions. Thank you, Abraham Lincoln. We're talking with James Varney from Real Clear Politics, and his latest article on Real Clear Investigations has a bunch of people asking, well, they're going to get away with it, right? No one's going to go to jail for this. You can steal from the American taxpayer.
Well, I think you're probably right that no one's going to go to jail for this. Now, we should say that not all of this money has gone out the door. If you remember, one of the things that the EPA did was they took $20 billion and put it with Citibank. So take it out of Treasury's control and really handcuff the incoming administration. That was what the guy was saying was throwing gold bars off the Titanic, if you remember that.
Yep.
Well, this is an even bigger thing, but at least all the money hasn't gone out the door. So what they're doing now in DOE is trying to go through these things step by step. Unfortunately, a sort of subtle change in the Federal Register took away some of the protections that the taxpayers would normally have in the loans. And so these things were carved out really on favorable terms to the recipients in many cases. So the money that has gone is probably gone. Whether or not they're going to be able to deep six what's left, that sort of is still an open question.
That seems so wild that anybody can spend that much money, because this is about the same amount of money that Elon used to buy Twitter. And I remember being told that, well, instead of spending that money on a stupid platform, he could solve world hunger. Sounds like we could have solved world hunger twice with the Department of Energy spending just since the election to Inauguration Day. No concern there.
Yeah, I haven't done the math on that. I don't know what it would break down to if you just wrote checks for every American. But, I mean, this is just an example of what the government's been doing for a long time, right? And to your point on that, P.J. O'Rourke said, 40 years ago, that if you just tallied up all the money that the federal government is spending on pass-through programs and divided it by the number of poor people in the United States or those that live under the poverty line, you could just write checks to everybody, no poverty in the United States. Now, you wouldn't have much government either, but that gives you some idea of how much they're spending.
All right. The other thing I like about your article here on realclearinvestigations.com, Jim Varney, is you go through this list of people that have gotten this money in the past and they're already out of business. Man, what a scam that is.
Right. You remember the Solandra. I'm sure you remember that in the Obama administration. I think that was around $540 million. Well, here, one of them was $3 billion to a company called Sonova, which is a solar energy company. And since they got the money in mid-January, they have filed for bankruptcy. Another company that got a loan called Li-Cycle, L-I, then Cycle, they have also filed for protection from creditors. I don't know if it's officially a bankruptcy.
And you say they just got their loan in November. How do you go out of business after a $440 million loan in November?
Well, the Sonova one, I think, was in January.
The Sonova one was January. Li-Cycle was November. Yeah. Just
it's crazy.
So they're blowing through this money, going out of business just fast as they possibly can. And what happens to that money? No one cares. No one follows up. There's no paperwork on it. It is just absolute, just plain as day theft. James Varney, I wouldn't know about this if it wasn't for you. So thank you very much for being on the James Show.
Thanks for having me, James.
All right, go check out this article, realclearinvestigations.com. His name is James Varney. Friends call him Jim, but he's written online as James Varney. It's good stuff about what's going on with your tax dollars. And if you're wondering why your groceries are going up too fast, this is a big reason why. We can't stop spending, can we? Back on the big, beautiful bill, we got some updates coming up next on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, welcome to the James Show. I'm just finishing up an email. People not too happy here. That's all right. I'm one of the few people. Am I the only one with principles around here? Not to say you don't, but I am just floored. I'm floored that so many people who call themselves conservative, so many people that say they're for limited government, they want a smaller government, can go support this bill. And I do have a lot of people who are saying, I support this bill, but I hate the spending increases. It drives me nuts. We should do better. But there are people out there, the guy I was just responding to, Bob, who actually, nice guy on most days, sends me email from time to time. He says, you would have voted for the largest tax increase in history. That's not much of a libertarian. I guess you think being a shock jock helps your ratings. You should really read the bill. It does cut spending, but cuts taxes more. No, I would not have voted for the largest tax increase in history. I understand that at the end of the year, the way the tax laws are written, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act will sunset from 2017 and all our tax rates will go up, and this would have extended them. But that's not me affirmatively voting for an increase in taxes. Go ahead, split the taxes off into its own bill. You think I'd support that? Of course I would. And I've admitted that I like the tax increase part. There's a few other things I like in there too. But I put my foot down because it grows government. And yeah, that is libertarian. Thank you very much. And no, being a shock jock helping my ratings, this is not helping my ratings. If I wanted to just say the things that would help my ratings, I would come out here and I would shine Trump all day. I wouldn't be turning off people like you, Bob, or risking turning off people like you, Bob, by saying things that I know are going to be unpopular. This isn't a shock jock thing. If this sounds shocking, maybe you're just not used to people being honest or being credible. But yeah, this shouldn't shock anybody that a person on a conservative talk station wants a smaller government. That's the least shocking thing I could possibly, or should be the least shocking thing I could possibly say. The shocking thing for me is 49 out of 50 senators that call themselves Republican just voted for a bigger government, bigger deficits, bigger debt, a $5 trillion increase in the debt ceiling. This is Vic in Dallas. You're on WBAP. Go.
Hi, James. Thanks for your perspectives. So let me pick up. You said it'll add about $5 trillion. So today, the GDP is $27 trillion, right? But if you look at the bill very carefully, and I'm a small business owner, the benefits of the tax cuts, the increased wages, the tax relief for seniors, the job creation, standard deduction, all of those will have significant benefits. And the biggest issue is if these tax cuts were not extended, it would have a catastrophe, on the economy in terms of a small business person. So I do understand the concerns of the higher, larger government, but I do want to say this. The president and President Trump does have enormous amount of powers to reduce costs as we go forward. So even after we pass the bill, it's not necessary that we'll keep spending more. So what are your thoughts on that, James?
Why didn't he do that from January till now? If he has this magic rescission power that none of us have ever seen be exercised in our entire life, and he could have been doing it for the last 6 months, why didn't he?
Good question. I mean, DOJ was a good start, right, to begin with. And then he's been dabbling with so many other things like, border security, immigration, and those things. But I think if he's making a commitment, as I heard him a couple of days ago, that irrespective of the bill, the agenda to continue to reduce cost will continue. I think that's positive. But as a small business guy, I kind of get excited about the bill being a conservative.
Yeah, but you realize how much we would have to cut? We would have to cut 40% of the government through these rescission packages. So I've never seen it happen before in my life, so I have, a pretty reasonable expectation that it's not going to magically happen this time. So I couple that in the context of every time we get to one of these forks in the road, whether it's the fiscal cliff or there's another government shutdown or a continuing resolution or whatever, I'm always told, well, we just have to pass this now and we'll get to the cuts in the future, and it never happens, Vic. That's why I think the best metaphor I've come up with that probably sticks is if your wife told you, not tonight, we'll do it tomorrow, for 30 years, you wouldn't believe her anymore.
James, you're funny. Well, I'll leave you with this, James. At the end of the day, I do appreciate your point about $5 trillion, but $5 trillion over 10 years for a $27 trillion economy, we have to look at the delta between what we anyway would have spent and $5 trillion. And my rough math tells me that's about a couple of trillion. And I think we can cover up by, the government continuing for 3 years and cutting costs. So that's the macro picture that I want to share with you, James. But I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, you're saying, yeah, we can run up that much debt and still stomach it. All right, fine. I'm not fine with it. I'd say we need to stop this. One day, this is going to collapse on a long enough time scale. The United States is not going to be the first infinite country. And thank you for your call, Vic. It's not going to be the first infinite country. I just want you to think when you've seen a superpower collapse in your life. It was the Soviet Union, right? You remember that? They were a co-equal superpower. And everything from Red Dawn to Rocky IV, to the Cold War. And they just collapsed. And it seemed like something that happened almost overnight. And if someone, came out a year or two before they collapsed and they said, yeah, the Soviet Union's about to collapse, they'd have been laughed out of the room. What do you mean, this co-equal superpower? You have no idea what you're talking about. They're not going to collapse just like that. You mean these people that have a space program and intercontinental ballistic missiles and all this, they're just going to collapse? Well, they did. We're not immune from the same thing that has taken down almost every empire. And I say almost every empire because most empires implode from an economic collapse, and then there's some sort of military defeat after that. Every once in a while, there will be someone that just outgrew you next door and they militarily defeated you. But most empires collapse first by screwing up their economy, by doing this, by spending too much money, more than they take in, getting off the gold standard, inflating their currency, grinding their economy to a halt. And it's intergenerational theft. You have to resist the incentive to use government to take money from other people and spend it on you. But for all you people that are concerned about, well, they're going to take away my Social Security, or they're going to take away my Medicare, or they're going to take away my Medicaid. I got an ugly truth for you. Good. You don't deserve that money. It's a failed experiment. And look, you're like, well, it hasn't failed. Okay, Social Security is going to fail in 7 years. Do you want to wait until we go off the cliff before you hit the brakes? Because then it's too late. No one's going to listen to me. It's too easy to act like this problem doesn't exist. Hey, just take off more debt. My kids and grandkids will be stuck with that, not me. I don't think that's very moral. And when this generation is looked at through the eyes of history by future generations, we're not going to look very good. We're going to take a country that was handed off to us by our grandparents and their parents that was stable. It was the most powerful country in the world. And then we took trillions of dollars of the Social Security Trust Fund. We spent it on ourselves. We took incoming contributions and we spent it on ourselves. Then we took our contributions and we spent it on ourselves. And then we're going to leave the next generation with 40 trillion something in debt, no entitlements, no social safety net, no money, nothing but bills and a broken economy. And they're not going to look very kindly on us because what we're doing right now, it's nice and it helps, but it's greedy and it's immoral. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. You'll hear what AOC thinks about the big, beautiful bill passing coming up next on The James Show. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I don't even want to look at the emails anymore. It's James Parker on the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Yeah, the big, beautiful bill passed. Donald Trump's going to sign it at 4 o'clock tomorrow. 4 o'clock-ish. They told us 4 o'clock. I bet you it'll be after 4 o'clock because they're always late. But I can't hate the two-party system any harder than on a day like today, where Democrats, you're so far off the rocker. I mean, I can't believe you as a party even exist. You're one of the worst human rights record of pretty much any organization in human history, except for like Genghis Khan. Think about it. The party of Jim Crow, slavery, Trail of Tears, internment camps during World War II, the KKK, segregation, making people poo in a different bathroom based on the color of their skin. Y'all are messed up people. Y'all have terrible burning crosses, all that. Now you look around anytime there's a riot or a Foot Locker set on fire, we know it was your team. So no, not you guys who are socialists and don't even know it half the time. You guys are just beyond the pale. But the Republicans are supposed to be the counterbalance to that. Yeah, they want big government to be so powerful they control every aspect of your life, from your health care down to your paper straw. You're supposed to be the counterbalance to that, and you don't want to stop growing government ever. Oh yeah, we got all these Doge cuts. Really? Because they're griping about entitlements being cut. Entitlements being cut. No. Entitlements need to be gone. When I say I want entitlements cut, I mean I don't want any more entitlements. I don't mean I want to trim 10% off of the edges. So I don't have a party. I can't support either one of these parties that for my entire life, for your entire life, grow government every turn. Good economy, government grows. Bad economy, government grows. We're in wartime, government grows. We're in peacetime, government grows. Doesn't matter. You've lost me. AOC on the steps of the Capitol just about an hour ago. Not too happy about the big, beautiful bill passing for the exact opposite reason I have.
It's one of the saddest days in modern American history.
Stop. This is one of the saddest days in modern American history, really. It's just like 9/11. Saddest day in... Stop it.
It's one of the saddest days in modern American history. This is the largest withdrawal and ending of health care in American history. 17 million people in our country, 17 million Americans in our country are going to lose their Medicaid. They're going to lose their ACA insurance. Small business owners are going to have their healthcare costs skyrocket, and people are going to have their SNAP and WIC cut back. People are going to go hungry. People are going to get sick.
Yeah, I know. Honestly, people are going to stub their toe on the coffee table. People are going to fart in elevators. People are going to get it stuck in traffic. People are going to they thought it was a fart and it turned out to be something more. It's just going to be terrible, y'all. Everything in the book they're going to throw at you. 17 million. Does that sound like a lot of people who are going to lose benefits through the social programs just at the federal level? Does that sound like a lot? How many people do you think are on some federal government assistance program right now? We're in a nation of about 340 million people. You would think, well, we already have like a social safety net for the people who fall through the cracks and, can't take care of themselves. Most of us can take care of ourselves. We're sentient adults capable of trading our labor for wages, if not starting our own business. How many do you think are on some sort of government assistance? How many people are you paying for with your taxes is the better number? You got to think, well, the indigent, what is it, 5% of us? So 1 out of 20? Well, that wouldn't be too bad, because 5% of us, that'd be about what, 16 million, 17 million? Oh, so 5% of us are going to lose our coverage. That's what it is? Yeah, but there's 100 million people on government assistance programs right now. Almost a third of the country. You don't think that's too much? You don't think 17 out of 100 million people could lose their benefits and be just fine? I mean, you're not taking away their health care. You're giving them their own bill. Look, if you went to lunch today and you went to Chili's and I paid for your food, okay, I could see how you would say, James provided you with food. But if you went today and you got your own bill and I didn't pay for it and you had to pay for it yourself, did I take your food away from you? No. So it's just incredibly dishonest language. When they're saying healthcare, they mean healthcare coverage or healthcare assistance or healthcare subsidy or stipend or program or something. But no one's taking away anyone's healthcare. They might just have to pay for it themselves, or if they're going to get help from their fellow man, it would be through private voluntary donations. What a shock. Chris in Fort Worth, you're going to be the last word on this. Go. On WBAP, go.
Hey, James, I agree with everything you're saying, and I love what you're saying because it's right. And you need to take the adoption that I have. I hate them all.
Oh, I've been there.
They're all a bunch of liars. They don't cover for us. They cover for themselves, and if we get anything, that's just a side benefit. That's all it is. But I would want to say one thing, unless I misunderstood you. Did you say we don't deserve what we get in Social Security and Medicare? We don't deserve it? Is that what you said?
Yeah, so you're going to say I paid in that through all the years, and so it's my money and I'm just getting it back?
I've got to say that.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah, no, that's all right. I understand why you feel that way because, look, whenever you have a Ponzi scheme, the last people to make the withdrawals, those are the people who got off like bandits. The first people that get cut off are the ones who feel like they're screwed. But there's people that are coming up after you, and none of us are going to be made whole after about 7 years. And I'm not taking away your benefit. You already took away your benefit. You already took the money your parents saved, spent it on yourself, your contribution, spent it on yourself, and then contributions from people who are working now and spend it on yourself. If the math isn't still working out, it's got to end. All right, that's going to do it for the James Show. Maybe we'll talk about that more tomorrow. Stick around. Mark Levin's coming up next. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP.